This is the Huawei P9. Now, ask any of us who've used it, and we'll probably tell you it's one of the least broken smartphones that Huawei has made. While that's maybe true, it's not really fair. There's a whole lot going on with this phone and a whole lot that's really good about it. If you've never heard of Huawei, we get it. It's not a really big company in North America yet. They're trying to change that. This is Phil with Android Central, and this is our Huawei P9 review. So here are your basics on the Huawei P9. It's got a 5.2-inch IPS LCD display. It looks really good. We've had some issues with LCD displays on a couple other recent phones, but you've got great viewing angles, looks really good out in sunlight, even better at night. The phone itself is only about 7 millimeters thick. So down here on the bottom, we have your 3.5 millimeter headphone jack, and you can see it just barely stretches beyond that. You've got a USB-C port. That is the new port. If you haven't used it yet, you're going to at some point. It's reversible, so you don't have to worry about which direction you're plugging in the cable, which is great to see. And we also have sort of a standard speaker here. It's not stereo or anything, just your basic mono smartphone speaker, but it does get pretty loud and it doesn't blow out too badly, so that's nice to see. On the right-hand side, you've got a power button. It's textured and it's offset just enough that you really don't have a hard time finding it with your index finger. That was very well positioned. And then you just have your standard volume rocker. On the other side, we have your SIM tray that doubles as the tray for your micro SD card, so you can expand the storage on the P9. Up top, you've got an earpiece and you've got your camera and a little sensor. On the back is where things really start to get interesting. So you've got a fingerprint sensor here, and Huawei makes some really good ones. They've probably done the best job of anyone of bringing a quality fingerprint sensor to Android. Up top, you have two lenses. We see this every now and then in different smartphones. We have one color lens and one for black and white pictures, for monochrome. You can do a dedicated macro mode as well that lets you adjust the aperture on the fly. On top of that, you have a dual tone flash and laser autofocus. Now, one thing we haven't mentioned until now is the Leica name. Yes, Leica has lended its name to the P9. It's mostly just a branding thing, so it's in name only. The parts are still outsourced to other companies, but Leica has given its blessing to this camera. And in fact, it is really darn good. So this is the new camera app. There is a whole lot of stuff going on here. We'll just start on the top layer. You've got your standard flash modes there, auto, off. You have a dedicated macro mode, and when you use this, you want to shoot objects that are within 2 meters of you or so. And as you tap on the screen to focus, it gives you the option to change the aperture right there. It's pretty sensitive and sort of gives it the look of a little too much processing going on when they do it. So I just haven't used it all that much. Quick setting to get you to some of the different film filters here, so you can make things look very old school. Again, if you don't know what film is, boys and girls, ask your parents. Then we have a button to switch over and do your front-facing camera. Say hi to Jeremy. So here we have your standard Huawei beauty mode. It kind of starts at 5, you can go down to 0, and all the way up to 10. So if you want to see me with makeup on, that's probably the best and easiest way to do it. Now, where things really start to get busy is when you swipe to the left. Here are all the modes. We have, I believe it's 14 different modes. We have photo, and that's just your automatic mode. You have monochrome, which switches over to the second lens, and that shoots in black and white. Otherwise, works the exact same way. Panorama, we have all done panoramas before. You start shooting and you rotate and you get a nice wide angle shot. Light painting is one of those old school Huawei features that's a lot of fun if you stick somebody with a flashlight or just a cell phone camera and a flash out in front of you. You can paint with light in the dark. It's a lot of fun to use, and it's great with fireworks. Slow motion is slow motion. Not a lot to say about that. You're gonna catch people slowly and have plenty of editing options to play with as well. Now, if for some reason you ever want to do watermarking where you put the date, the time where you are, you can do that right here on the phone as you are shooting, so that's really handy. Swiping the other direction, we get to the many settings in the camera app. So got a couple audio controls here. You can choose to mute in the settings, and you can choose whether you want to put the audio control icon on the main camera view. Touch to capture, so if you just want to touch the entire screen instead of the shutter button, you can set that in the options as well. Object tracking you can turn on if you want it to continuously focus on somebody that's moving. Volume button function, you can choose whether you want the volume button here to shoot the shutter, to serve as the zoom, or to focus. And finally, we have image adjustment. You can set the saturation, contrast, and brightness right there in the settings. So there's a whole lot going on here, and that's not all. We still have, when you in your normal photo mode, you pull up from the bottom, and we now have manual controls. Pretty standard manual controls, but still very powerful and good to see here on the Huawei P9. So the home screens, there's a whole lot going on here as well. Huawei's always done its own thing, and it actually works really well this time. I don't have any real complaints. There's no app drawer here, so if you want to complain about not having an app drawer, fine, but get over that. I've pretty much set this up like I would set up any other phone with my launcher of choice, which generally is Action Launcher, but in this case, I'm just using Huawei's. Now it lets me stick things any place I want to. You can still put widgets all over the place. I have my full screen calendar widget here, and I put all my folders and apps that I would normally have on my home screen right down here in the bottom, exactly where I would. And after that, it's just a matter of flipping through and finding all your apps and putting things where you want to. And that's actually one of the most important things you can do with these phones now, is just rearrange your apps. Take a few minutes, put things in folders, move the folders around, really make this your own device. P9 is still really powerful with themes. I'm actually using one called Pure Icons that changes things up a little bit and gives me more of a stock look. We'll flip back here to the default black theme. And you can see Huawei is still doing its things with its own icons, where everything, we call these squircles. They're not quite squares, they're not quite circles, they're squircles. So Huawei still changes things up a good little bit, but themes lets you change things back however you want. In the tools folder, you will find a bunch of other things that you might or might not want to use. Files is where you get to all your files. Anything you download, you can get to in there. You got a clock, you got a weather app. You have a recording app, which is really good. Huawei's put a lot of work into these. Compass, if you take your P9 orienteering, you can just point it in any direction and you see what's in front of you and you see what direction you're facing. I am now facing north, which is sort of redundant when you're in Canada, I think. The Phone Manager app is worth taking a look at. It does have a few things that we probably don't need and wouldn't even recommend using. System optimization. Generally, we leave this up to Android to clean up. Harassment filter will let you block messages and calls from people you don't want to get messages and calls from. So the biggest problem for us at this point is price and availability. You can't buy the P9 in North America at all because they can't sell phones with this processor over here. But it is available in a whole bunch of other countries worldwide. But it starts at a pricey 599 euros. That's about 680 US dollars. And that's for this lesser spec version with 32 gigabytes of storage and 3 gigabytes of RAM. To go up to 64 gigabytes and 4 gigabytes of RAM, you're up to about 740 US dollars. But the thing is, that's the arena that Huawei wants to play with. They're in the same league as Samsung and Apple at that point. And you know what, the P9 holds its own. It's different. Some of the software is still a little overbearing, a little overpowering, but it still has a ton of features, and that's a good thing, and it makes this one powerful smartphone from the Chinese manufacturer.